So yes, we can start now. The streaming is has
Ready.
started.
Sir, then you stop presenting and then go to the PPT again because it is not being visible.
Stop presenting. Yes.
And then upload the PPT again.
Okay. Okay.
Share the PPT.
Okay.
Sudipto, you are muted.
Yeah. No problem. I'll just shut up it.
Sir, can you share your slide? Dr. Bandyopadhyay, you are muted also. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm sharing the slide. Huh?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's coming probably. It hasn't yet come. We cannot see the slide as yet.
Huh? You cannot see the slide.
No.
Why?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's coming.
Huh?
It is now coming.
Now it's coming.
Sir, again hide that bar.
Again, I put this height. Yes.
And then open the PowerPoint and go to the full screen mode.
Yes.
To the present mode, sir.
In the presentation mode. Yes. Okay.
All right. So you are all set.
Yeah.
So Sudipto, over to you.
Yeah. Now it's I think we need to introduce our speaker today. He has got a lot of reputation in the area of Indian renewable energy, both from the subject perspective and from the actual implementation and specifically with respect to policy. Dr. Bibek Bandyopadhyay is the former advisor of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and former director of the Solar Energy Center, Government of India. He also worked in IIT Delhi and Department of Science and Technology. He was involved with the Indian National Solar Mission, the hydrogen program, and setting up of the Solar Energy Center, now National Institute of Solar Energy. After superannuation from Government of India service in 2013, he has been engaged in advisory services in the policy, management, and technical space of clean energy technologies and remains associated with teaching and research. He served as a visiting professor of IIST Shibpur, as a distinguished visiting professor of NIT Arunachal Pradesh, and as an advisor to the consulting team firm Nexant Incorporation, and in several years. For several years, Dr. Bandyopadhyay has a few books and research papers in his credit and has been assisting international journal Solar Energy for many years as an associate editor. He also served on the editorial boards of the International Journal, Renewable and Sustainable Energy Reviews, and the Indian Journal of Engineering and Material Science. He was one of the guest editors of the international journal Solar Energy Materials and Solar Cells for the special issue on PVSCC 18. Dr. Bandyopadhyay, a former student of Ramakrishna Mission Vidyamandir Belur Mott, holds a master's in physics from Vishwabharati Shantiniketan and a doctorate from University of Delhi. He completed a course in management from the Institute per la Restauranjo of Italy, Rome. He is a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering. With this brief introduction, I think I should not waste any more time and leave the platform to Dr. Bandyopadhyay for his presentation. And all members are invited to interact with him after the presentation. Please, sir, carry on.
Okay, thank you, Professor De. At the outset, let me extend a very hearty welcome to all of you to this event where we are commemorating the National Technology Day. We all are now connected through this remote connect mechanism, a very wonderful gift of technology. I'm really very fortunate that I'm a part of this event today and interacting with such a distinguished audience. I must thank the organizers of the West Bengal Academy of Science and Technology for giving me this opportunity. See, the world has never been the same. The world has changed, and it is because of technology. Today, we are more comfortable, we are more productive, we are more well connected, and it has all been possible because of advancement of technologies. Necessity is the mother of invention. So technologies have been developed to serve the society. Now, if we see this slide, what we understand is that energy, which is essentially the backbone of technology and any technological development, it is being used right from the beginning of the civilization. And today we are using 100 times more the energy what our earlier ancestors used to use. The Industrial Revolution that started in mid-18th century provided us with miraculous capabilities. The technologies which have been developed, they have started using all possible kinds of energy as it was available. We have used biomass, then to coal, to oil, to gas, to electricity. So we have gone through several energy transitions within the last 400 years. But the energy transition we are going to talk about today is different than that energy transition which was based on availability of fuel and our convenience to use them. We have used more and more fuels with more and more calorific values. But today, the background of the energy transition is different, and it's a kind of disruptive energy transition that we will talk about. But before we talk about this energy transition, let us just have a glimpse of the energy scenarios, the global energy scenario and the Indian energy scenario. If we take last year, 2023, the estimated energy consumption globally is 580 million terajoules. And it is interesting to note that 83% of this energy has come from fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas. Now, these primary energy sources, coal, oil, and gas, these are being used in this way. It has been shown in this figure that it is used for commercial transportation, light duty transportation, electricity generation. A major portion of the primary energy sources have been used. Then it has used in industry, and it has used for buildings and for other commercial activities. Interesting to see that the amount of primary energy which is being used to generate electricity is quite high, because electricity, it has now been the most coveted source of energy. That is, it is the most coveted energy carrier. And if we see this graph, we can also find out that not many years back it was being projected, but right now the energy consumed for transportation is being bifurcated as commercial transportation and light duty transportation. I think you can understand the implication of it, that why it has been projected like that. Now, from these primary energy sources, electricity, which has been generated last year, is estimated to be 29 million kilowatt hour. And here also, note this interesting fact that 40% of this electricity has come from clean energy sources. Actually, the journey has already been started. If not long back, but after 2000, there has been tremendous progress in utilizing clean and indigenous energy sources for the purpose of development. Now, if we see the per capita energy consumption for world, average is over 1800 kg of oil equivalent. In India, we use 655 kg of oil equivalent. That means around 1/3 of the world average. Same thing is true for electricity. Our per capita electricity consumption is 1255 kilowatt hour. And we are hoping that by 2030, it will be around 1500 kilowatt hour. The reason is well understood. We are too many. We are now 140 crores. That is 1400 million people. Now in India, this is the energy scenario, in the sense we have installed power capacity of around 440 gigawatt. And we get it from coal, hydro, nuclear, oil and gas, small hydro, solar, wind, and biopower. But interesting to see that this installed power capacity, if we see from the installation point of view, 50 plus 5 plus, that is 56% of the power installed capacity is based on fossil fuels. This is the Indian scenario. And if we now try to find out that what is the energy demand in India, it has been projected by various studies that in the coming decades, China and India will account for half of the worldwide increase in energy consumption. And India will be the majority country for using this additional energy in the next few decades. But one good thing, let me say that in India, we are totally an energy importing country. more than 30% of our energy is being imported. We have sufficient coal reserves and also some reserve for oil and gas, but neither these sources can give us the supply we require. In 2022, the energy import bill of India was $180 billion. But our country has started using renewable energy sources long back, not being dictated by any international protocol, but for its own development purpose. Because we knew that we are energy importing country, and we knew that we'll have to develop our villages, our cities, and we need more and more energy. So we have tried to harness the energy which is available in the country from the sun, from the wind, from the biomass, from the flowing water. And today, India is one of the leading countries in exploiting renewable energy. 43% of the installed power capacity is essentially coming from renewables. I told that the total installed capacity is around 440 gigawatt, and out of that 191 gigawatt is coming from renewable energy sources. If we add the nuclear capacity, then around 50% of the total installed capacity is in a position to provide clean energy sources to India. But as I told that not only electricity, we are using it in industry, we are using it in transport system, we are using it in a very primitive way of utilizing biomass for cooking. Still, there are millions of people who use biomass for cooking their food. And the total energy, the fossil fuels, which is being burned in the country, not only in our country, as I have seen worldwide, this figure is more than 80%. It gives a lot of pollution. Pollution in the form of carbon dioxide, the oxides of sulfur, the nitrogen, and other forms of energy, forms of pollutions. Just a minute. I have tried to provide the pollutants and the secondary pollutants because this is one of the most crucial things for utilizing fossil fuels. And we know that these gases, which are greenhouse gases, provide a kind of greenhouse effect, which is warming the atmosphere. If we see the origin of the greenhouse effect, that is very much necessary for our survival. Otherwise, this whole world would have been a cold place and we would not have been existed here. But after the Industrial Revolution, the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases which we are emitting in the atmosphere, they have gone to a dangerous mark and is causing more warming of the atmosphere. Other than carbon dioxide, the Kyoto Protocol, which is essentially the first international initiative that has been taken in Kyoto in 1995, where they have decided that the greenhouse gas emissions are to be restricted if we want to survive in a sustainable world. So Kyoto Protocol identified 7 greenhouse gases. These include carbon dioxide, and that's the major one which is causing the global warming. Methane, which has very high potential of global warming. Others are nitrous oxide, petrofluoromethane, sulfur hexafluoride, even the moisture. But quantity-wise, carbon dioxide is the most prominent greenhouse gas. Actually, from 1880s, the regular records have been kept, and it has been found that there has been global warming from those days. And now, if we consider the beginning of the industrial civilization, the increase in global temperature has happened around 1 degree Celsius. And the temperature is increasing because the amount of heat trapping gases, that is the GHG gases, that is increasing. And as these gases are being used by human beings for our own development purpose, so we are essentially emitting these gases. Today, the global average carbon dioxide is 419.3 parts per million. And mathematical models have suggested that the probability of warming is around 2 degrees Celsius, and it is high probability if the carbon dioxide concentration is 450 ppm. And it can lead to higher temperature increase, though the probability is less, from 650 to 1000 ppm. But then it will not be a sustainable thing. That's why the global community has now taken a very clear decision that it is necessary to control the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere if we want to make our living a sustainable living. This is a representation which is showing that the best case scenario is that reduce carbon dioxide amounts to stop increasing after 2050. Global average temperature will increase from 1 to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And if we don't reduce carbon dioxide and the amounts continue to increase, the worst case scenario warming will be 4 to 5 degrees Celsius. That is the red curve which is showing. The only solution which has been thought of is decarbonization. Decarbonization is the reduction of carbon dioxide emissions through the use of low carbon power sources. It can be achieved in different ways, through energy efficiency, through low carbon electricity, through low carbon fuels, and by capturing and storing the carbon which is being emitted. A lot of studies have been made worldwide, everywhere, because it is a question of our survival. And many wise women and men have started telling that we need to leave fossil fuels before fossil fuels leave us. The reason that we know that fossil fuels are very limited quantity. Once these are only stored fuels. And that's why from 1970 onwards, there was work on renewable energy so that we can find out some alternative sources of energy other than fossil fuels for supplying our energy, primary energy sources. But now the situation has come to that level that even if there is fossil fuel, we are not in a position to utilize it if we must want to survive. And that's why the question of energy transition has come. It's the pathway for transformation of the global energy sector from fossil-based zero carbon. But whatever we say, it is critically depending on two factors. That how long will it take for this energy transition? And what is the state of development of a country and its economic growth and demand of energy? Because we know that all the countries in this world are not on the same platform. Take the case of India. We still have to go a long way. We have seen from our energy consumption point of view, we have seen from our development point of view that we need to go miles still now. At the same time, we have a lot of coal deposit in our country. So if we stop burning coal, certainly we will help getting the Paris Agreement target of keeping the temperature below 2 degrees Celsius. But the question is, can we afford to do it? A very clear decision has been taken by Government of India that we will have to use coal, even if this is polluting. But what we can do essentially is following the technological innovations. And that I'm going to emphasize on this National Technology Day. It is possible to get more electricity out of the same quantity of coal if we use the latest technical converters for converting the thermal energy of coal to electricity. We can control the pollution. We can use the carbon capture and storage technology. Along with that, India is taking all other necessary steps of exploiting the available renewable resources in the country and to introduce the energy efficiency. The Paris Agreement, as you know, it has taken the decision that every country will provide their nationally determined contribution, what they would be able to do for following the path of sustainable development. India has very consciously contributed towards this NDC, nationally determined contribution, and we have taken a very firm decision by 2030, 50% of the electricity would be coming from the green energy sources, and we will be installing a total of 500 gigawatt installed capacity for renewable and zero carbon energy plants. That means including nuclear. I have already shown that we have already reached more than 190 gigawatt. Indications are very clear that we will be able to install 500 gigawatt of carbon-free energy generating capacity in this country. And Also, as I have shown, the electricity consumption per capita, the target what we have taken 1500 kilowatt hour per person by 2030, then it is possible to get this electricity out of this 50% green electricity. We have taken necessary steps for including sinks and reservoirs as the agreement wanted. Now, when we are talking about energy and development, we have found basically it is the fundamental. Energy is fundamental to fulfill our basic social needs. It is fundamental to achieve economic development. Because as we develop, industrialization and urbanization will demand more and more availability of energy. And higher energy consumption will certainly fuel economic growth, because so far we have seen that there is a positive correlation between energy consumption and development. And this graph is very clear that more the per capita energy consumption, far better is the Human Development Index, which is plotted in the y-axis. So we can see that various countries have been plotted against it. And interestingly, India is somewhere here where the Human Development Index factor is around 0.6, because our per capita energy consumption is low. So studies have indicated, and it is not only India, you can see innumerable number of countries, the developing countries, which are trying to provide a better status of life to the people, to the citizen of the country. They are within this low energy consuming sector, low energy consuming countries. And their development, their Human Development Index is also therefore low. So studies have indicated that if we can get 100 gigajoule per capita of energy consumption per year for the people, then it is possible to go to a better Human Development Index regime. So that is, for a decent standard of living, we must have 100 gigajoule per capita. Today, the India's energy consumption annually is 37 exajoule. And therefore, if we want to go for that 100 gigajoule per capita, we need to provide more and more energy, and we need to take all technological innovations which have been developed for utilizing this energy in a proper way. One thing has become very clear, that if we convert the primary energy sources like the fossil fuels or the renewable sources of energy to electricity, then many problems can be solved for emission reduction. Because electrification provides the energy needs with a control. It can transport the energy in a much more feasible manner, much more environmentally benign manner. And as the carbon intensity decreases in electricity generation, if we use more and more renewable energy, then electricity will really provide that green sources of energy that can affect many of the gadgets which directly work with electricity. So first thing is energy efficiency, and it is known as the fast fuel, or it is called the zero fuel. The International Energy Agency, it has already seen that energy efficiency can take 49% of the measures needed to stay in line with 2 degrees Celsius scenario globally. It is interesting to see that it is possible to introduce more and more energy efficiency, to take all the measures for energy conservation, and then it is possible that we can achieve to that goal of temperature limitations which has been set by the Paris Agreement. Obviously, electrification and utilization of technologies will provide us the other benefits, not only the societal benefits, but also local jobs, increased productivity, and competitiveness in this world. There are various options. We know that buildings, a very low-hanging fruit for introducing energy efficiency. Even today, I believe many of us who are sitting to listen to this lecture, or in offices or in many places, we use air conditioning systems. But if we go in detail to this air conditioning system, we will find that we are really wasting a lot of energy from that. Most of our windows are single glazed windows whose U factor is 6 watt per square meter per degree Celsius. Even if double glazed windows are being used, it will cut down to 3 watt per square meter per degree Celsius. Means we'll be able to stop inflow of outside heat to the air conditioned room by half. And therefore, less amount of electricity will provide us the desired cooling. The building designs, the building materials, the use of lighting systems, all this can contribute a very good contribution as far as energy efficiency is concerned. We are increasing our urbanization, our industrialization. We are continuing to use more and more modern transports, but these are various points where energy efficiency can play a very vital role. But then, in this juncture, let me talk about the Jevons paradox, which might be a barrier, and we can find that. Jevons paradox is telling that when energy efficiency is achieved in a particular area, in a selected area of economic activity, then savings are typically reinvested into economic activity elsewhere. I'm giving an example. We have achieved a very high energy efficiency in lighting, because now with LED bulbs, we can get with 6 watt LED bulb or 9 watt LED bulb, we can get around 100 watt incandescent bulb lumen effect. But then even if we have got it and we have, still we could not achieve it totally in the country, or in many other countries people couldn't get it properly. But even if they do it, as we have already achieved substantially in energy saving through using LED bulbs. But then we have seen the use of light has increased because it is now less expensive. So you go to our villages, go to many of the places, you will find a lot of red, green, purple lights are lighting. But Jevons paradox has rightly predicted that if it is less expensive, if it is more efficient, then people will try to use it more and more times, and therefore the very effect of energy efficiency that has given us the energy economy that may not exist. So it only shows that simply it is not technology, simply it is not change of fuels, simply it is not following some regulations and policies, but then our total attitude towards sustainability needs to be changed. We have seen in globally that there is a continuous increase in renewable energy. By December 2023, the total installed capacity globally is 1400 gigawatt, and wind installation is more than 1000 gigawatt. We can see how rapidly these installations are growing. And the reason is, again, the miracle of technology. If you see the cost of solar or wind, we can find out that cost has come tremendously low within a few years. In 2010, it was 378, which has come down to 68 in 2019, and further it is coming down. So the falling cost of renewable energy, same is true with wind, onshore wind, and now offshore wind is also coming, and its cost is coming down drastically. On the other hand, the cost of nuclear and cost of coal is increasing. So as everything is being determined by the economic benefit, it is expected that solar and wind and such renewable energy sources which have falling cost will certainly lead the path of green electricity. But then there are technological problems, and we, the technologists, need to solve it, because we know solar and wind are essentially indefinite source of energy, stochastic in nature. So more and more stochastic kind of electricity, if we put into the grid, then the grid may be unstable. But fortunately, it has been found in Germany that it can take up to 25% without any problem. But as these installations are going up globally, and also in India we have seen, we need to take proper measures to see that grid remains stable while we are putting these stochastic energy sources, stochastic electricity into the grid. Again, technologies are playing very vital role. The cost of the battery, the storage system has come down drastically. So not only the photovoltaic cost has come down, not only the wind cost has come down, electricity cost, but also the cost of battery system is coming down. So if these stochastic sources of energy and batteries are correlated, and it can be stored for the time when it requires, because sun doesn't shine all the time, wind blows only when it wishes to blow. So battery in different ways, not only these chemical batteries, but battery on pumped storage system. These when are done with these renewable energy sources, then it can provide a very steady electricity and 24/7 electricity. The new development is hydrogen. Hydrogen, as we know, that it is the energy carrier which has maximum energy density if we see from the weight point of view, but not from the volume point of view. And in India, we have already started the National Hydrogen Mission after the success of the National Solar Mission, where we have seen that solar installations have increased tremendously. Now, hydrogen we are already using for many purposes as chemical feedstock or as reducing agent in the steel plant. And it has been found out that the hydrogen what we are using today, that is 6,000 million tons per annum, that is coming as gray hydrogen. And gray hydrogen, as we know, is being produced from coal or gas. And that is being used in the refineries, in the production of ammonia, for production of fertilizer. And so this is being used as a chemical feedstock, or it is being used as reducing agent in the steel plant. So it is emanating a lot of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. But if we can get green hydrogen, the hydrogen which is being produced using green electricity and therefore has zero carbon implication as far as its production is concerned, and when that hydrogen is being used, it burns with the oxygen and gives the output of pure water. So there would be no carbon problem if we use hydrogen. So it is possible that green hydrogen will provide a very powerful tool for tackling this energy transition, not only as chemical feedstock or for reducing agent, but also as the storage of renewable sources of electricity, which is indefinite and stochastic in nature. And the hydrogen is considered to be a game changer in the sustainable transport system. Fuel cells have already come up with very high efficiency. Its cost is coming down. It's a wonderful, again, the contribution of the technology. And if we keep in mind that while everything is changing, we have to accept the technological changes, and it is expected that within 5 to 10 years, the fuel cells will be available in a commercial way in an affordable cost. So with fuel cell technology and also with direct impinging hydrogen in the gas pipeline, we can use that hydrogen blended CNG in the vehicles, because experiments conducted in this country have shown that we can very safely use 18% of hydrogen in CNG gas as transport fuel. It provides higher efficiency and lesser pollution. Higher efficiency because, as you know, hydrogen being very small molecule, when the hydrogen blended CNG is burnt in the combustion chamber, then the interfacial space between the chamber wall and the gas, which is very small, their hydrogen can help in complete combustion of this blended gas, and therefore the efficiency increases. And as we are blending hydrogen, which is a green source of energy, pollution also comes down. And if we can do that, that 1/5 of the CNG is being replaced by hydrogen, we can bring down 1/5 of the import bill of our CNG, which we are importing from other countries. Obviously, electric vehicles, which are based on the lithium-ion battery packs, which have already started coming in the market, if they use the green electricity, which we are promising that 50% of the electricity to be available in the country by 2030 will come from green electric sources, it will give lot of relief from the carbon dioxide emission. We need we need to remember that electrification is not universal in this world. More than 2 billion people do not have access to electricity, that Aladdin's magic lamp, because electricity can do many services which other sources of energy cannot do. Therefore, we need to extend the electrification. That is one of the primary objectives. In our country, we claim that we have got 99.9% electrification, but in reality, if we go to our remote areas, even in the cities, there are power cuts and electricity is not available 24/7. So that is a problem which can be tackled by engineering innovations and management skill, and we can do that. We need to provide clean drinking water, the fuel for cooking, and these are required for our sustainable development. We have seen that the solar and wind, it can be used as decentralized sources of energy. Rooftop solar is now a very powerful tool for decentralization, because we are now in a position to connect these decentralized solar panels or the small wind turbines with the existing grid. And if the grid electricity can be ensured 24/7, then there would not be any requirement of any other storage. But this electricity point can be connected to the grid, and grid connected systems will work as a 24/7 solution for any place, because the excess electricity which would be generated when it is not used, like in the daytime, that will be stored in the grid, and from the grid it can be taken in the evening. So that is one point what we are progressing, and many other countries are progressing. Similarly, for the air conditioning system, in the building energy analysis, it has been found that now air conditioning energy consumption is the fastest growing energy consumption in the world. The reason is the developing countries, they have now little money, and the people are aspiring for better standard of living. And in these countries, if you see the map below the Arctic, it is essentially all hot and humid countries, and that require cooling, not for comfort, but for higher productivity, but for basic human comfort. And this increase of electricity demand for air conditioning can be tackled if we take into account these green electricity sources like solar, like in the schools, colleges, hospitals. This rooftop solar system can provide the required electricity for the air conditioning system in the daytime. And therefore, you can avoid the transmission and distribution losses. You can avoid utilizing other sources of energy. Also, as technologies are giving us the energy storage system, and the cost of electricity is coming down drastically as far as solar electricity is concerned. So with low-cost storage, it is possible to provide a cost of electricity which would not only be in grid parity, that means it is not exact with the cost of electricity in the grid, but it will be lesser than the cost of transmission. What people are thinking that we can term it as God parity, where it would be not feasible to transmit that electricity because the cost of transmission would be more than the production of electricity. So we have already achieved this, and more mix of renewable electricity is continuing as we see. But what we need essentially is public policy and an attitude. And this energy transition to green and low carbon electricity and energy is only possible if we follow the path of just transition, where everyone would be benefited and it would be a total inclusive transition. Thank you.
It's an excellent lecture. I think we have a general overview of bird's eye view, so as we call it. And now I think there people might have some questions and interactions. So I just tell that if you have any queries, please raise your hand so that we can identify one by one and then allow you to interact with Professor, Dr. Bandyopadhyay. I have several queries, but I just want to put it later if the time is available. So if you have others have any queries, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I may go into my interactions. Rather, I feel like from this, I'm very much enriched with this particular lecture because energy transition. Anyway, we can just keep on thinking and put your points also later on, but I can just ask some of the questions. Sir, our Prime Minister has already declared the Panchamrito. I mean, the step-by-step actions for the Indian accommodating the so-called energy transition. So we have a target of net zero by 2070.
Yes.
So what do you think, sir? Our actions taken in India is quite good enough to meet that target? I know that it's completely impossible, but as a senior experienced person working in the field, what do you think, sir?
I feel it is possible. The reason is we have many low-hanging fruits. As I told you, the building sector. You can see the construction of buildings which is taking place. It's a major economic activity. But still we are following the old practices. Lot of energy efficiency measures can be introduced, and it is one of the activities which can be done through education. Already technologies are available. Education, regulation, policies, and it is not expensive at all. If you see the increase in cost in these energy efficient buildings, it is less than 10%. And when we see the market, I think it's a question of how much the developers ask for, you pay it without questioning that how much bricks and cements have gone into it. So that means there are many low-hanging fruits. Low-hanging fruits in the form of transport. Hydrogen, it is a very possible and positive indication. As I told you, that as chemical feedstock and as reducing agent the amount of hydrogen that we use per year, it is much more than what our national hydrogen mission has targeted. And it is possible to provide that green hydrogen. Only thing, the cost is to be brought down, and there are ample evidences that technological innovations and that scale of utilization will bring down this cost.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We have positive hope we can expect from Indian side at least. Yeah. And then, sir, another issue, you might agree with me that the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, the central nodal agency for the energy conservation, and has taken a lot of measures, and this has got significant contribution because, as you have mentioned, that the energy efficiency is zero fuel improvement. That means if we can reduce the demand, that's the demand side management. That is the most efficient option because any energy conversion takes a lot of whatever may be the highest efficiency conversion. Then also still there are some inefficiencies. But demand side management is the best option to reduce the energy demand and making that particular energy transition more successful. So, what is your opinion in that respect of contribution of BE?
We have done very wonderful job. But then this job is to be taken to the grassroots. Now many rescos, the ESCOs, energy service companies have come. They are going and taking contract. Suppose they can go to Jalpur University and they would say that whatever you are paying as electricity bill per year, give me that for 5 years or 10 years. And I will replace all your lighting systems and other systems with energy efficient systems. And so at the end of 5 years, when I will leave, you will get completely transformed lighting and other energy systems. It is possible to do because the potential of energy efficiency in these sectors is very high and it can be done. That's what I'm telling. So energy efficiency can be done. We are doing well in the green electricity, solar and wind. Again, technologies are bringing very positive aspect of them. So it's a kind of management. But people are to be educated. People are to be told to follow things. And if you give a very clear indication that how much money they would be able to save by following these things, they will do it.
Excellent, sir. I have just got it at that particular point. I also feel so. And then another important issue I have raised about the building energy consumption. That is a very high projected amount in the urban with the corresponding urban development. So we have recently made some work with our PhD students with respect to suitable combinations of wall and air conditioner. I will just share those for your comments. But for the time being, I'm just asking, sir, do you think that the retrofitting of the existing building can be a good measure, or only it can be the ECBC can be applied, or the new regulations can be applied to the only future new buildings?
No, it is retrofitting is very much possible. We have done it ourselves in many buildings. It is possible to do. If you see the U value of our wall, which is to be 1.5 watt per square meter per degree Celsius, not being followed. The windows, as I told you, the single glazed window, you go to the market, you will not get a double glazed window, even if you want to do it. There are some companies which have come, but they are selling these windows at a very high cost. But this should be available at a normal cost. So simply introducing a 5-star air conditioning system in a room, which has single glazed window, whose rooftops are not properly insulated, has no meaning. So we have to do it with a holistic manner, and there is every possibility to do it. We have that much money also now in this country that everyone can follow it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And also, thanks to the new introduction of the digitalization, control, that provides a lot of impetus. That is again another technological innovation which can come very handy in tackling these problems.
Undoubtedly, real-time energy management in buildings is very much important using the IT-based systems. Yeah, absolutely. And so last query is, that the hydrogen mission and EV mission are two very big missions of India. And
Yes.
that's not only related to energy transition, but also related to our energy security, because our transport system is completely depending on the import of oil, and which is politically very sensitive area. And we also not get oil after 30 years, as estimated by the reserve by production ratio. So, sir, my humble rather request to you: do you think that the out of these two missions, which is appearing to be more successful mission in India? Because there is a guess that EV may not be successful, something like that.
But hydrogen is going to be successful. Again, we are to hold the cow in the horn. You know, the thing is this: I was talking about that in our country also they're injecting green hydrogen in the gas pipeline, so that there is a blending, and if more and more hydrogen is being used, certainly you are saving the environment, and this hydrogen is indigenous because you are getting it from renewable energy sources. But then we have to be very, very cautious. These gas pipelines have been established for CNG, methane, which has larger molecule, CH4. But we are injecting hydrogen, which has very small molecule. So the possibility of leakage, very small, would be there. And stringent regulations, stringent safety measures are to be brought. Because hydrogen, if it leaks, then it will bring up global warming. Hydrogen is not a global warming gas, but hydrogen, when it comes out, it reacts with the hydroxyl ion, OH minus, becomes water. And therefore, hydroxyl ion is being used by hydrogen. And you know, Professor Kuchan, the Nobel laureate in chemistry, told that hydroxyl ions are the detergent of the atmosphere. So it breaks the methane, which is much more potential greenhouse gas. But if you use that hydroxyl ion by leakage of hydrogen, then you are going to increase methane amount and global warming will increase. Now, these are various things. You are in the university, proper management courses have to be introduced, proper regulations to be brought, proper policies to be. Otherwise, technologies will bring down the cost of hydrogen. It is possible to do.
Absolutely, sir. Lots of thanks for, because many of my ideas are actually, I mean, rather corroborated, and obviously I have got very new insights into this particular field. So, anybody else need not to raise your hand. Otherwise, I can hand over this to our Secretary of WAST, Professor Mochidash Gupta, to give the formal vote of thanks. Is anybody has some any other queries? Because people may have, and then in that case, obviously, if they are not asking, then they can send to mails to also. Then I request Professor Dashgupta to, I mean, on behalf of WAST, the formal vote of thanks.
Professor Bandyopadhyay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, madam.
Yeah, thank you very much on my personal behalf and on behalf of West Bengal Academy of Science and Technology for delivering this talk in a way that I could follow. I was expecting a completely technical talk, and I was very scared of sitting here and not understanding anything, and where I could understand everything. Thank you very much. I now I can ask questions actually.
Sure.
So, because the mic is with me. So the first thing that I understood that 3/4 of the population is using 1/4 of the energy. And then the Indian government decided to keep on using coal. This is one information I understood. I know from my side that Indian government is trying to make it GHG neutral by 2030. Is that right?
What energy?
GHG neutral, the greenhouse gas neutral, they want to make it completely GHG neutral by 2030 or 2070. I knew 2030. This is
So
what
2030, we have taken a target providing 50% electricity from the green electric
yes,
sources.
yes.
We
So,
have, tell me.
so actually, the way I entered into this field is that I'm very interested in fertilizer production industry. Okay,
Yes, yes.
and that, in my knowledge, is the biggest consumer of this fossil fuel right now, even more than transport. That's what
Yes.
I'm. And so this alternative fertilizer production, which is biofertilizer, is where lots of science endeavor is put on. Okay. So my knowledge, my little knowledge of whatever you said comes from only one angle. How much energy is being consumed by fertilizer industry and how much GHG is produced by using wrong amount of fertilizer in our fields. This is all I know.
Yes,
What is
madam, I will not
that?
be able to give you the exact numbers, but one thing is clear, that
Hmm.
fertilizer utilizes ammonia.
Yes. And that,
Fertilizer, and that can be produced from indigenously produced green hydrogen. So when I was telling that we are importing energy from outside, it is not only energy. We are also importing ammonia. We are importing fertilizer. That is
yes,
also to that
yes,
energy bill it would come. That can be
yes, yes,
provided by our own indigenous production. And certainly biofertilizer is another very
yes,
good thing where the biogas sludge can be
yes,
utilized. When I
yes.
was in the ministry, I was involved in setting up a 1 megawatt electric power plant in Ludhiana
Mm-hmm.
with cow dung. And that plant producing electricity was providing to the grid. And then the question of sludge of that uh, biogas plant, which
Mm-hmm.
is essentially the waste, come, and that
Mm-hmm.
is a very good manure. So we also made a, organized a kind of memorandum of understanding with that plant to the Fertilizer Corporation of India, so that they can take it, can use it, or mix it with others,
Yeah,
so that the plant will get, they were collecting cow dung, but that time the cow dung prices also increased. It's a question of supply and demand. Earlier,
yeah,
there was no price for the cow dung, but when this plant came, we found certainly the cow dung price in the neighboring areas increase. But that's good. Those people get some benefit out of it.
yeah. This is our gobar gas plant, right?
It is a gobar plus plant.
Right. Yeah. So, um, the other thing I found very encouraging. I mean, I like your attitude, completely positive. It's so electrifying. Your attitude is so positive, infectiously positive. Actually, I like that. So another thing I want to say, that you said that the renewable energy contribution is quite high. I mean, many angles. The wind. You said wind, and you also mentioned biofuel. Solar energy is of course there. But biofuel is contributing almost 11 gigahertz or something
Exactly.
like that.
That
Yeah.
is, we are doing it as co-generation in the bagasse,
Mm,
industry, and as
mm,
I told, this gobar gas power plants.
mm,
Because I remember when I handled this program in 2004.
mm,
That time only those biogas plants were being installed in farmers' houses for giving
mm,
cooking gas.
mm.
But that time, thanks to China, they have already brought the biogas engines, small engines. So you give that gas and you get electricity. So at that point of time in 2004-5, not all our places were electrified. So we introduced the program that you set up a biogas plant, take this electric generator and use electricity. So many panchayats have taken it. But however, as the time passes, now they don't depend on that. So now the question is coming, if we can put up bigger plants for electricity
Okay.
and biofertilizer.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Bandyopadhyay, for such a nice talk. It
Thank
really
you.
made my day as a National Technology Day. Thanks, Professor Sudipto Day, for arranging such a nice talk. On behalf of Academy, again, thanks to all the listeners who have, spending the Saturday evening to listen to the talk. Thank you very much. Thank also on behalf of Professor Shivaji Chakraborty, actually who is not present here. On behalf of him also I'm talking. He is on a trip. He would have been much more happier than me to be around. Thanks again. Thank you very much, Professor
Thank
Bandyopadhyay.
you. Thank you. Thank you
And,
very much for
Thank
patient hearing.
you.
But
and
one thing I find remote is very good, but it really doesn't give that flow when you see in the hall and talk. That's a
No,
different.
it doesn't. It actually doesn't at all.
Okay.
And,
Anyway,
Not even 50% pleasure.
I'm very thankful to you for giving me this opportunity to talk about it.
And
Thank you.
lastly, all these difficulties of taking care of the technological issue is taken care of by Dr. Ranjan Ganguly, Professor
Yes.
Ranjan Ganguly, and his team. And
Yes.
it's the platform he has maintained it. That's why we could be able to support this particular program. And rightly mentioned by Dr. Bandyopadhyay and Professor Dashgupta also agreed that always we prefer the physical, the presence of everybody, so that we can have a better interactions in the getting more impact.
Yes.
But unfortunately, sometimes we have to
No,
compromise
it is
on that.
okay. It is okay. It also saves time. No doubt of that.
So,
You can take more and more work.
yeah,
Yes.
we,
Thank you very much.
we hope to have you within us some in physical meeting too.
In
Yes,
person.
Okay.
in
Okay.
person.
I would love to meet you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ranjan, do you have anything closing remarks or?
No, I think for the sake of the viewers, this entire lecture would be also available in the YouTube. It's been streamed and it would be saved for later viewing also at the WAST website.
Sure. Acha.
So
Okay.
thank
I
you very
forgot
much,
to,
everybody.
I forgot to thank Professor Ganguly. Thank you very much, Professor Ganguly, on behalf of the Academy for doing all this for us.
Yeah.
You are part of our host. So yeah, thank you very much.
All right. So I'm closing the session now, so everybody can log out.
Yeah.
And
Thank
thank you
you.
very much once
Thank
again.
you.